Hi, I am Loretta, or Trinity 6, and I am a cultivator of creativity, and I'm making this video to help you get more empowered by not using please and thank you. And I bet you are wondering how that works because we have all been taught since we were young that using please and thank you is what we do to be polite and well-mannered to one another. And this is just a disclaimer. This is my personal perspective, and I'm not saying that using please and thank you are bad, but there are just better ways to use language to your advantage so that you can self-charge yourself in any kind of interaction where you would normally be using please and thank you. And you can actually help teach other people to charge themselves up as well. So I actually read this really good book called Medicine Woman by Lynn Andrews. And there was this one sentence in the book. The whole book's really good, but there was this one sentence. She goes to see a medicine woman, and she keeps saying thank you to the medicine woman. And she says, "Stop saying thank you to me. You're giving your power away." And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? At first I was like kind of tripped out about it because we're so taught to just, that it's so polite to say thank you when someone does something for you. And my interpretation of what she had meant when she said it is that if somebody does something for you and you say thank you, at the end, you're really giving your power away. You are literally giving them sort of a piece of your energy in these verbal words, these verbal kind of trigger words. And if you've ever been in a situation, which I'm sure you have, where somebody's thanked you for something, you always get kind of this feeling and you're kind of like, oh yeah, no problem. And you can kind of feel it. You feel that positive charge. And even though this is, for many people coming from a place of love and appreciation, what that does on a very almost subconscious level is feed people's egos. And it's almost not noticeable, I think, because we're so ingrained and embedded in this idea that it's just polite, well-mannered behavior. But if you have ever remembered what that feeling is like, you know that wasn't your energy. That was the energy somebody gave to you. Now, the difference between powerful and versus empowered, which is really going to be the difference between these statements that we're going to talk about, is that they have always taught that life is a struggle, that it is, what is the other? That struggle is suffering. So life is suffering and struggle, but really the main reason behind that is humans' desire to want to control power. So it is either you taking power from other people or you wanting to control the power of people. And so when we are thinking about life this way, a lot of what this also ties into is people really coming into being sovereign, being their own, being in charge of, their own energy, and being like connecting to what people will say divine source energy, and understanding what that power itself has. Basically, a lot of people that have suffered and struggled in the past or currently just don't understand how to get connected. They don't understand that they can be these eternally abundant energy entities. So what they do is try to control other people's power in a way to charge themselves up. So the first part of that is, if you have done any kind of energy work, if you know anything about 5D energies, if you know anything about light work, being a light worker, or even just raising your frequency, a lot of that, or like I said, this divine source energy, is all about connecting to this source. And for me personally, I just went through a phase where I was like, we're abundant and infinite, like they always say, like with the law of attraction, everything is abundant. And to me, it's like, so there's never a time people get kind of in this idea that you fill yourself up. When you make this connection to source, you fill yourself up and then you're really charged with this energy. But my understanding of it is that when you really fully realize your connection to source, it's almost like this open gateway and you just become a conduit. And kind of like how they say chi energy just flows. Once you're connected to that source and you understand what the breadth of that connection really is, the abilities and uses that you can use from that energy source connection, it flows through you. So there's never a time when you are without. If you give some of your energy away, basically it is renewed and restored immediately. There is no time at which it becomes unbalanced. There is no time where you have to like fill yourself up and then you give throughout the day and then you come back and you fill yourself up. I think a lot of people at this point are at that stage where they're making connection to source, but they're still kind of in this state of being where it's like they fill themselves up with like morning meditation and they do all this stuff and then all of a sudden at the end of the day you feel it. You feel depleted, like you have been giving and giving and giving. And even if you're giving with an open heart and you don't feel like it's negative in any way, you feel depleted at the end of the day, and then you're kind of doing like a night meditation and filling yourself up again. But the base understanding of that is to just know that you are abundantly infinite with this energy once you are connected to it. And so that kind of absolves the idea that you have to be in this power struggle with other people. And if you can get to that point of understanding, then this is where using some of these different word phrases, I think, is really going to make sense. You have to be discretionary because not everybody is at this state of understanding. So some people may not always understand the different applications of some of these other phrases that we're going over. I mean, I think if you understand why you would use these phrases, you should use them and you should teach other people how to, in the same situation, charge themselves up. But I just think with some people, I can just tell them like that they shouldn't say thank you. They may not necessarily understand right away. So I think the application really has to be up to your discretion and who you're dealing with. And if you have the time to really explain to somebody why you would use a different phrase, then that's great. It's really about getting this information passed around so that we can all help everybody else become connected to the source energy and then for them to be self-sustaining. So even if we get to a point in the world where we're all connected, but we have all these people feeling like they fill and then they deplete and then they fill and then they deplete, that's really not a self-sustaining idea, because then we're kind of always going to other people to kind of, either refill what we've depleted or we're giving away and we feel without. So these phrases will be really important at that level as well. So in the beginning, when you say please, like if somebody's sitting at a table and you're at the table and they, you want somebody to pass the pen and you say, can you pass me that pen? There's always something that happens in this interaction because there is an expectation that you would say please. So for some people, immediately, if you're just like, can you pass me that pen, and you don't say please, they immediately get this sort of negatively charged emotion because you didn't say this trigger word. And I say trigger word because we have been embedded with these ideas that is how you appropriately ask somebody to do something. And so when you start off this way, it's just immediately one of you is having this negative kind of, you're setting off on this negative vibration. And then if you go into say somebody passes it to you and you say thank you, you basically are giving your power away in this exchange. So in the first part, when you say please, you're kind of giving your power away a little bit as well, because it gives us this idea that you can't have anything, you can't be a nice enough person to do something for someone unless somebody asks you the correct way. And I just want to go back a little bit and say I grew up during a time when there were no cell phones and people had open doors all the time, and it was like a much more open community feel. Like you felt safe, you could ask your neighbors for stuff, but it was just this idea of like trust and just wanting to be open and wanting to help people and just, being in that sort of community feel. And part of grounding into this 5D community is also going to be about knowing that it's our, human, or if you want to say God-given right, to be able to just ask somebody for something. And it's their God-given right to decide whether or not they want to or can or cannot help you. So if you say, can you pass me that pen? And you have no reason not to pass the pen, it's like, why wouldn't you? If you were a good person, you would just pass it. No big deal. Like it took 1 second, didn't really do anything to you to pass it over to them, and you helped somebody. So in this event, there is an opportunity for you as the person who just did it to kind of self-charge, because you're able to just say, I feel good because I just helped them, whether or not they said please or thank you. But some of this expectation is like when you say please, you're putting power in their hands for them to be the judge of being like, oh, you're worthy of being handed this pen now because you asked appropriately, when really we should have the right to ask. And then we also have to understand that the other person has the right to say yes or no. So if you ask for something, even if it's like past the pen and it seems really small, and the person's like, no, I can't, now you're kind of put into this test of being able to be the person that doesn't get irritated or frustrated. You don't want to be like, oh, it's just like a little pen, it's like 1 second. That's kind of a test for you to be able to say, no judgment, not a problem. And you reach around or you get up and you grab the pen yourself. So it's kind of a test on both sides for people to be able to have an exchange without using this trigger word that we've been embedded in the idea that it's polite and well-mannered, to be able to ask for something or for somebody to be able to say no, and for there to be absolutely no judgment in that exchange, and to understand that you had the right to ask, but they also had the right to decide if they wanted to do it or not. And there shouldn't be necessarily any specific wording that makes you worthy or less worthy of this task being, of you being assisted with this task. One of the ways that we go from having this power exchange that happens between us is to use a different kind of statement, which is self-charging. And so this is really the most important. We want to use statements where we self-charge ourselves. And when I say self-charge, I don't mean like connect and then fill yourself up. It's almost like when you self-charge, it's just like putting the plug in the socket. It's like you are remembering your connection to divine source, and when you are connected, it flows through you nonstop. There is no like, I'm getting charged and I'm like waiting to fill myself up. I don't mean charged like it's going to give you like this feeling. I mean just charged as in you remember that you're connected, and when you're connected, divine light is, you are filled with it. There is no part of you that is without it. It's almost like saying, if you plug in a lamp, it's not like in the beginning you kind of have to wait for the bulb to like start getting like a little bit light, a little bit light, a little bit light. It's like when you're plugged in, the light is on, and that's it. There is no, the light gets, has to build up energy to be able to be at full capacity. It's full capacity right away. So you kind of have to think about yourself as like a conductor of this electric energy that comes from this divine source. So anyway, the empowered way to say please is to say, I would be so grateful, or I would be so thankful, or I would be so appreciative if you could pass me that pen. And what that does is it sets the tone for the exchange that you are being polite, but you're also being honest, because if somebody did help you with something, would you not be grateful? Would you not be thankful? Would you not be appreciative? I often tend to like to use grateful and appreciative. Just the resonance of those words to me have a little bit, like feel a little bit better. But I was also thinking that thankful is also one as well. So when you say thank you, that's different. That's you giving thanks to somebody else. But when you say I would be so thankful, that's a self-charged statement. When you put I am in front of anything, that is you charging your mighty I am presence, your divine self presence. It's you making this connection to source, and it's you charging yourself by being connected, and charging as in automatic full on all the time. Now, the same thing works for thank you, which is, like I said, when somebody passes you the pen, whether you've said please or not, and you say thank you, you can literally feel it. You're saying thank you, and you're giving that piece of power away to somebody else. And so a great way to get out of the power struggle, and it's not even struggle, but just the power exchange, is the same self-charging statement. I am filled with gratitude that you were able to pass the pen to me. And the second half of this, where I was saying, now you have an opportunity to both self-charge. So if you say, I'm filled with gratitude that you passed me the pen, now this person can say, I'm filled with appreciation that I was able to help you. So in this exchange, somebody's done something nice for you, which is all of our God-given or human right to be able to ask. And since they reciprocated this to you because they had no reason not to, they're nice people, why wouldn't they? Now you've left an opportunity for the both of you to, like, quote unquote, I don't want to say be rewarded, but be self-sustained and charged, each of you, but you're charging yourself. We talk about a lot this inner work, this inner journey. And so it's not about charging other people up. Not that there's something wrong with that. A lot of people could use good charging who really don't have this information and this knowledge yet. So I don't want to say don't go around not charging anybody up. You have to use your discretion. But any opportunity where you can self-charge and teach someone else how to self-charge as well, that's really what we're looking for. What the level that we want to get to is people with this kind of knowledge being able to now teach other people. It's not just about charging each other or or filling each other up. It's about getting people connected. It's about me, my connection to divine source, and me saying to you, hey, you can plug in your lamp too. And it's like, you might be one of those nice people too that's just like, I'm just like this, and I can just like give my power away. And even if you've come to the understanding that you're this abundant source of energy, and you're like, I'm eternal, like I have constant flow, so let me just give. It's not a bad thing, but when you give, basically what that does is it puts other people in this state of always getting that charge from you. So it kind of keeps promoting this behavior of other people not understanding their own connection. And then what happens is, if you get somebody that doesn't understand their connection and you're constantly charging them or, filling them up by giving your power away to them, and it's not affecting you so much because you feel charged all the time, what happens is that person, when that charge is over, or when they, if they filled up, when that's over, they're going to come back. They're going to come back every time to you because you're one of those generous people that just gives. So it just kind of keeps putting them in this looping habit of not trying to figure out on their own how they can also be these abundant conduits for energy. They're just like having interactions with people who understand this concept that are just giving it away because we think that that's kind of like the nice thing to do. And what that also does to you as the person giving away is it kind of takes away time from your life where you could be teaching other people how to get connected, and you're now taking time to just give away to these people that you kind of see as a charitable thing to do. But really, if you're at this level, the idea is about getting other people to that same level and saying, I'm fully connected. I know what this flow means for me. I want to show you how you can get connected to your own flow. And you don't have to come to me to feel filled up. You don't have to have interactions with other people to have that kind of feeling. You can self-sustain that on your own all the time. And that's really, I think, we're cusping into this point when we're talking about people really grounding in 5D or people staying in 3D, that these kinds of concepts are going to start growing and growing and growing. And there has to be more opportunities where we can learn to be more self-sustained. And then in that, to be able to teach other people how to be self-sustained. It's really what it's all about. And so, part of the struggle, and I wanted to say before too, is that a lot of people always want to be, it's like, you always want to be, instead of always wanting to be the best at something, you kind of go through this, when we have this power struggle or suffering, it comes a lot from people always wanting to be the best at something, or like I was saying about, social status, when you're growing up, you have a lot of competitive nature, and the competitive nature comes from us wanting to have the best jobs, and we want to make a lot of money so we can have our stuff, or we want to be the best at something, we want to excel, we want to be the top in our class so we can go to the best schools, and it kind of just keeps getting layered and layered and layered into our subconscious. And so part of that, the programming that we go under to want to take power, even though it's on the subconscious level, that, what I was saying, being the best, that's almost like a subconscious thing too. I think a lot of parents and a lot of social activity that we have as children is always about, you want to be on a sports team and your sports team wants to be the best. and you want to, like I said, be the best in school, get the best grades so you can go to some of the best colleges. And you want to go to the best colleges because that'll give you access to the best jobs. And it just kind of like keeps getting layered and layered and layered and layered. And before you know it, it's just almost like part of your subconscious, life as an adult. You want the jobs that are the best. And when you're in that job, like where else can you go from there? And you want to perform the best. And a lot of that is constant comparison, you versus somebody else. And I just wanted to put that out there because you have to start taking that idea, and it's the inner world and the inner work. So instead of saying the best, you versus other people, you versus a group of people, you versus anyone else, it's just the best that you can be, your standard for your best. And if you can start thinking about that, you can also start diminishing some of this powerful programming that we put ourselves into, which also drives, when we have this kind of programming in our subconscious, it's also what drives the expectation for these kinds of trigger words, which, when you feels kind of like when someone asks you to pass a pen, they don't say please, and you're like, you have that, you don't even say anything, but you get that feeling, where you're just like, I don't even want to do it because they didn't even like ask me the right way. That's like your ego. That's a little bit of your ego, and doesn't seem like much, and I think it is quite small, but that is on another level our ego that's getting struck because, like I said, you're being the judge of whether or not somebody is worthy of this task because they did or did not say this certain trigger word to you. And it's the same thing with thank you. People get very irritated when they do something for you and then they're not thanked for it. And it's this expectation of you giving power. It's this expectation of when you say please, I have the power to decide now what happens. And when you say thank you or don't, I have the power that you've just given to me for me doing something nice. And it's like, well, if you're nice, you would just do it and you wouldn't really expect anything. That's what charity is. That's what, this being connected to people that it's not even generous, but it is just open charity is when if you're able to do something for somebody in need, then there's no reason to not do it. So when you try to take best out of it, but it's really about the more that we have this power struggle or power program embedded into us, it really feeds our ego on so many like subconscious levels as well. And some of that is also programmed into these, language triggers that then stroke our ego or let our ego decide when somebody's worthy of something. And at the end of the day, if you can't help, you just say like, I can't do it, or I'm sorry, I can't help you. And the other person, if they're really learning on that path, they're not going to get upset. They're not going to get mad. And if they are mad because you don't want to do it or can't, then they obviously have their own inner work to do. So these emotions that you feel that your ego kind of brings up when you don't hear these words is almost like it should be a trigger to you that you have a little work to do on the inside. But the easiest way to snap out, I think, or replace these is to use these I would be, so I am, so that you can self-charge yourself and lose the expectation of it coming from the other person, that you have this like give and take struggle going between you, and you're just kind of filling yourself up. And so when you do that and you're self-charging, that's when you're feeling empowered. That's the big difference between powerful and wanting to take other people's power. When you're powerful, that's exactly what that means. When you have a lot of power, it's not coming from you. You have like a certain amount of connection. It's when you are taking a lot of power from other people, or you're controlling a group of people or many people or however many people, and you're using their power to your benefit. That is what powerful really is. Empowered is when you're powering yourself, self-sustained from you, and it's just your power. And your power could honestly have no limits, but when you're feeling really empowered, you feel fulfilled, you feel sustained, you feel like you could do anything. And when you're in this empowered state, you don't care about things like trigger words. You don't care about having to be thanked for something because you already feel great. You're like in a state of joy. You're in a state of bliss. I feel so empowered. I'm sort of, I'm the sovereign being. I am in charge of my life. And if that's the case, then this kind of stuff isn't really going to bother you. So you want to get to a state of empowered. You want to be able to use these I am statements. And it's important if you start using these, is to really help other people in these exchanges and start teaching other people, like, I'm saying this, but like you can say this too, so that we can both get charged up. It's really about spreading this message of getting other people connected. And I kind of liken this, when you're getting charged and you're feeling connected, I'm like, it is the same thing as the lamp analogy I was saying earlier, which is divine source is literally like the electrical grid, and you are kind of like a lamp or a house. And when you establish your connection, that's it. Like you get connected. Your house has electricity, or your lamp, and you plug it in and it's on. And then if somebody came over, a neighbor moved in and they didn't have power, and they came over and they were like, hey, we don't have power, could you share some? The idea isn't that you would like fill up a little rechargeable lamp and give it to them, and then what's going to happen when their lamp is out of light? They're going to come back to your house and they're just going to ask you to charge it up again. And instead, what it is saying, okay, let's just connect you to the source. Like, yeah, so when a house moves in and they need electrical power, they don't go asking their neighbors to fill up little lamps and then them coming back to the neighbors because the neighbors are nice and can keep filling up their lamps. We just directly connect them to the source of the energy. And so that's the same thing when we are using statements and getting more people empowered. It's sharing information so that people can directly connect to source. And it's no different than new houses in your neighborhood getting connected to electricity. And so, like I was saying before, if you're that nice person and you're just like giving these charged up lamps away to people all the time, people are just going to keep coming back to get their lamps charged from you. And then the more times you do it, the more time you have to take refilling these lamps for people. And that time that you take, even if it's just your one neighbor and he just like keeps coming over every like 4 or 5 hours to charge up this lamp because he's not actually connected to the divine source, then that's like however many other people that you can't help, you can't get connected, or however much other stuff that you're not doing because you're taking the time to help out this neighbor. So that was kind of the difference too of being that kind of person where you want to help somebody, you want to be able to say like, oh, I want to charge this person up, I want to fill this person up with good energy. It's like, if you can filling other people up with good energy and replace it with getting people connected, that's great. If you're dealing with someone who has no interest in getting connected and doesn't really know about a lot of these other modalities or this kind of lifestyle, then certainly giving energy away, if you know that you're abundant so that they can get charged or they can get filled up with it and you're doing it in a loving, sort of open heart way, then I would say absolutely continue doing it. So just remember that a lot of this has to do with discretion. So I hope this information helps. It's really just about not using words that are going to keep people in this powerful or power control program, and really getting empowered and putting people into a program where we are all connected and self-sustained and self-charged. So that way we always feel abundant. But like I said, always use your discretion and kind of know that who you're dealing with or who you're having exchanges and interactions with. And certainly if you need to charge people up, just to kind of let them know that there's a lot of light and love out there, that's fantastic and you should continue doing so. So I hope this video helped. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, just leave them down below. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thanks.